think all of them understand that whoever owns these essential models is going to be our oil of tomorrow. Our data is oil. Our models are the person who owns the power. Sounds textbooky and doesn't sound like just tell me what to do. But I guarantee you that you kind of just want to know this stuff because it will help inform how you use it, or if you're just starting out, what to use. Come along, sit with me a second, let me explain a few things, or not, just move on. But for now, trust me in that you might want to know about this. So we'll take you back to November of 2022. Now I'm scrolling, most likely procrastinating, and I stumble onto ChatGPT. And it wasn't November of 2022. It was later. My husband's a VC and he invests in AI startups. So probably he mentioned something, or somehow I got onto ChatGPT and immediately into my sisterhood or high school chat group. We were talking about it maybe a few months after, but we're like, y'all, have you seen this thing? Very exciting stuff. But, you're going on with your life, so you're not paying attention to it. Honestly, it was more like a really good Google search. Before we go any further, I just want to untangle something that trips people up with this. And it's the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning. So you might hear these interchangeably, and they're truly not. Artificial intelligence is the umbrella of it all. The whole idea of making machines smart. And it's been around for a long time, since the 1950s, like way, way back in the day. There's like this Turing test thing that you want to look up. But the idea that machines can become smart has been around. What hasn't been around is data. And so machine learning is one specific technique under the umbrella of artificial intelligence that helps computers with rules. So imagine before we were this is exactly what you do, like bebop, boop, boop, boop. And machine learning is more, why don't you tell me what you think this is? So imagine if you were to tell a computer, all cats have pointy ears and whiskers, versus sending a bunch of images, a zillion images of cats, and having the machine go, I see here that all cats have pointy ears and whiskers. That's machine learning. It's the machine learning something because of all the vast amount of data that you're giving it to, and it is understanding and inferencing, which is, I don't even understand the mechanics behind it, but really cool stuff. So for years, that's where the action was, like image recognition, speech transcription. So Netflix recommendations. Even like back in the day when the Pac-Man, Blinky, remember the little ghost, and he would know where to go, and then he would wagga, 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 and it was getting closer. That was all machine learning. Very cool stuff, but not as transformative as what we have now. So the current wave, the stuff that makes like ChatGPT feel like it's talking to you, that is something a little bit more advanced, and that's called deep learning. And it's based on transformative architecture. Now, you're not going to need to know this. I don't know what that means either, but you're at a dinner party and somebody says, well, the transformative architecture is the blah, 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 blah. You just go, I know what you're talking about. Just what finally broke this thing was the internet itself, right? So imagine the machines, we giving it a bunch of data so that it can inference things and kind of think, communicate, reason, and create. It can only be done if enough data is given it. If it was just given a few things, then immediately it was just going to falter, like it just didn't have enough data. But now with the internet, we could feed it a shit ton of data and it could get way better at its job. So here's where it gets good. Because behind all this technology, there are actual people with actual personalities, and those personalities shape our AI. So I know that everybody thinks artificial intelligence, machine learning, it's all, it doesn't have a humanity to it, but it actually does. And that's why it's important to understand what these foundational models are. So I'm going to start with Sam Altman. He's classical Silicon Valley. He dropped out of Stanford, as one does, and he founded a social network app and went on to run Y Combinator. And if you're in the Bay Area, you know Y Combinator is the prime accelerator for all startups. So things move fast, and you know how to pivot, and you know how to fund and get out there and go. Super important, because as my husband, who's also a brilliant entrepreneur and a VC, it really is the people. Like, you can have a lot of intelligent ideas and stuff, but if you don't have the right people making it happen, it will not happen. Kudos to Sam Altman. He knows that. Then there's Dario Amodei, and he's very different vibe. He grew up in San Francisco. He studied physics at Caltech and Stanford. He got a PhD in biophysics from Princeton. He studied how neural circuits actually work in the brain. So before OpenAI, he was a Google brain. And this is a man who understands how biological intelligence functions. So, I mean, imagine, he truly understands the biology of the brain. And that's kind of important when you're building an artificial brain. So they're together at OpenAI. And Sam wanted to move fast, which makes sense. You know, you have to actually ship it, scale it, and monetize it. The Dario, he was leading development of GPT-2 and GPT-3, which is, their model. And he co-invented a technique for training the AI to align with human values, because he was really feeling like if we're going to train these AIs onto something, let's go ahead and build into it goodness, if you will. Like, we want our AI to be like ethical, good little robot, or not robots, but machine type things. And so he was building it into that. So he was much more slow, structure, safety. Sam, understandably, was more, thank you, Amodei, but we got to get out there. And so in 2021, Dario split. He left with his sister, Daniela, who, I love this, that she's a literature major, warms my heart. So they started Anthropic in 2021, and they built it as a public benefit corporation. And mind you, back in the day, I think OpenAI was supposed to be, a kind of like a philanthropic endeavor, etc. I understand the amount of power that this has and money that comes with it. It makes sense that it becomes a business. No fault. No, I'm not judging there. But anyway, so Dario left to start Anthropic with his sister and a bunch of really smart researchers. And in their company, the corporate structure, it's more safety. If you want to know how he thinks, I would highly recommend reading Machines of Loving Grace. That's one of his first essays. In January, he wrote another piece about a little bit of cautionary tale, but read both of his essays. Really fascinating work. And it's surprisingly accessible and paints a real picture of what AI could do for humanity, and if we get it right. And so now we shift across to the Atlantic in England. And there's another genius, and he's just like a generational genius type of kid. Quirky chess prodigy kid named Demis Hassabis. He's a chess master, but age 13. And, I think competes with a girl his age too, who was also awesome, which go her. Programming best-selling video games by 17. He double first in computer science from Cambridge and PhD in cognitive neuroscience from University of College of London. And in 2010, he co-founded DeepMind with one massive, audacious mission. He, since he was a wee little thing, wanted to solve intelligence and then use intelligence to solve everything else. So I think he was thinking we have it backwards. Why are we trying to solve everything else? Let's just solve what intelligence is. And then the intelligence will solve everything else. Genius. I mean, thank you, little genius kids. So Google saw what this special kid was, and they acquired DeepMind in 2014. I think at the time there was a little bit like, why are you selling out? And I think Demis was not just a smart little kid. He was or at this point, not a kid, but smart genius. He was like, in order for me to solve intelligence, I'm going to need money and some compute power, and Google has money and the potential for compute power. Kudos to him for seeing the big picture and not just being like a pedantic thing that is not going to go anywhere, even though you're a genius. In 2016, their AI system AlphaGo did something nobody expected. It beat a legendary Go championship in the best of 5 matches, 4 games to 1. So Go, I had never heard of this before I watched this movie. Go, so I think checkers, like my speed is checkers, and then there's chess, and those are like the intelligent kids. And then there's Go, and Go has like more permutations than there are atoms in the universe. It's this ancient Chinese genius game, but their little computer was able to beat the reigning champion of Go. And if you think about it, it's not that they had taught the computer to beat it, because again, the permutations of how you could win this game is like almost endless. The machine learned it as it went, so it was learning like how to play and played it on the go, the AlphaGo. So really cool stuff that he won that AlphaGo contest. And then even shortly right there after that, something even bigger is they essentially solved protein folding with AlphaFold. So for 50 years, scientists had been trying to predict how proteins fold into 3D shapes. And this is above my pay grade, but if you do this, then you have a way of understanding how diseases happen and how to cure them. So this was a really big deal. And he won the 2024 Nobel Prize for Chemistry, even though he was an AI scientist, which is also really cool. Really great documentary about him. It's called The Thinking Game. Highly recommend. So now we go back to the story of the 3 little pigs in AI. So again, to recap, you have Demis Hassabis, who built DeepMind, now Google's Gemini. It's research-driven, deeply scientific, woven into Google's ecosystem. Then we have Dario Amodei, who built Anthropic, and Claude. Claude is the chat box, and they're safety conscious, measured, designed to be helpful and honest and harmless. Sam Altman built OpenAI and ChatGPT and consumer first, move fast, get AI into everyone's hands as quickly as possible. And these are the foundation models. They trained on enormous amounts of internet data to create what we call large language models, or LLMs. And think of it this way. They read essentially the entire internet and learned the patterns of how humans communicate, create, and reason. And so, yes, these models are expensive. We're talking massive data centers full of specialized chips, consume enormous amount of electricity and water to cool them because they get really hot. And when you hear about the environment cost of AI, it's real. So we'll cover that in a different podcast. Now, these 3 aren't the only players. We have other models. Elon Musk, for example, started XAI and its chatbot Grok, and which pulls real-time data from X. Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, formerly Facebook, he released Llama, which has an open weight system where developers can download and build on it for free, because he's trying to, again, I think all of them understand that whoever owns these essential models is going to be our oil of tomorrow. Like, our data is oil. Our models are the person who owns the power. And so they want to get out there fast. Microsoft invested a ton of money on OpenAI, so they're built off of OpenAI, and their AI is called Copilot, and it runs on, again, OpenAI. And then we have Perplexity, and that is an AI-powered search engine, and it kind of is like the house party, invites everybody in, and, OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, and it uses all of the models to help with content. So those are the big 3. ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini is where you start. So here's my honest take. I started with ChatGPT, like everybody else, but it felt more like a glorified search, and honestly, I didn't know what I was doing. And then I moved on to Gemini, mainly because I saw The Thinking Game, honestly, and I really liked Demis and his brilliant little mind. And I also really enjoy Google products. I really do. I know they're a big corporation. If you're anti, like, not do them. And so I've definitely appreciated them. I still use them. Their spatial recognition is amazing. Their imaging is just ungodly good. But I've kind of moved on to Claude a little bit, to be honest. It just has felt from a person that is more of a creative writer type thing, it has felt more home for me. When I write content and I ask Claude for help, it is like a badass editor friend that is talking to me and pushing me to be a better person. And it truly has made me appreciate how effective this can be if used in the right way. And this is why I want you to learn how to use it, because I want everyone to feel like I did. So, anyway, thanks for listening. Those are the foundation models. And I promise you, other episodes will get into more usability, but I felt important. More than anything, just pick one. If you haven't started to use one, pick one. Claude, Gemini, or ChatGPT, or any of the other ones. If you have all Microsoft Copilot, and just start using it. That's all I can say. Thanks for watching or hearing.